On today's show, more defensive talk and takeaways from Sunday night's game. Also, we hear from Demeco Ryans, and let's take a deeper look into how Houston held a 25 points per game Chiefs team to only 10 points.
You are Locked On Texans, your daily podcast on the Houston Texans. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Battle Red Nation, from H-Town to your town. Today's episode and every episode of the Locked On Texans podcast is for Texan fans all around. I'm sure y'all enjoyed the Victory Monday. And like I said on Monday's show, it's going to be Victory Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Victory December, because I don't see the Houston Texans losing. But what do we have on the ballot for today's show? Demeco Ryans, Coach of the Year. Maybe Matt Burke getting some love as well. So we'll talk about that. The O-line issues with elite defensive tackles and how that has led to run struggles. I'm going to open up today's show with just a clip from Demeco Ryans. It's important to hear from Coach on this 5-game win streak and also just inside the numbers. To all of my everydayers from the Himalayas, thank you for making Locked On Texans your first listen of the day and for being a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Now the number one sports podcast in the land. And I'm your Texans credentialed media member and football analyst, John Hickman. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Hey, let's hear from Demeco Ryans. Coach, you got a big win on Sunday night. How you feeling?
Defense did an outstanding job. This is a great offense. They've done a great job for a long time, but it was all about the situational football. Plays we made on third down, getting stops, fourth down, being able to get stops there to put us in range to score some points. I just can't say enough about the effort from our defense. Kamari, battling through all week to come out, make a huge play, getting an interception, deflecting the ball when it was up in the air. Petrie making a big hit, taking the football away. Aziz taking the football. Like, you come here, you take the football away 3 times. So just an outstanding defensive performance. And also another guy who probably don't get recognized a lot, but Tommy Togiai. I mean, he had up, think about 10 tackles, a sack. Like, he started it off for us, and he played consistent all night. Just a relentless effort from our entire group. Yeah, look, for me, it's a good win. It's a win. I'll take a win no matter who it's against. I'll take a win. And I know every time we win, we improve our position. So that's what it's about this year, winning when we need to win and improving our position, right, to get in the race. Yeah, look, we have a confident bunch on defense, right? We understand that no matter what the situation was, no matter when they were put out on the field, those guys knew they were going to go make a play. And that's what you have to have. You have to play with that confidence, that swagger, and that's how they're playing right now. That's allowing them to be, one of the best defenses in the league. So what went down in that second half? Yeah, look, we could do some better things offensively. Kansas City did a really great job, really picking up the pressure. They did a really good job. Spags did a great job of calling it there. And, look, they came out in the second half. They made some adjustments, and they stopped our run game, and we couldn't get any passes completed, so it was a tough stretch there in the third quarter. We found a way when we needed to run the ball most. At the end of the game, we found a way to get some yards and finish it.
All of those things Demeco Ryan said I'm going to talk about today and throughout the week. But he mentioned winning is the only thing that matters right now. He also highlighted the defense, called them a confident defense. What I want to talk about in the second segment of today's show, just Spags. He mentioned Spags and being better offensively. He also mentioned the third quarter issues. But diving into inside of the numbers, Houston's defense and the exceptional job that they did Sunday night. Held KC to 70 yak yards, third lowest of the season for the Chiefs. Only 8 passing first downs, second lowest of the season for the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes had a negative EPA per dropback, and that was at negative 0.41. Controlled the ball, won the time of possession. And for me, one of the more impressive stats of them all, Patrick Mahomes on third down, 3 of 8, negative 1 passing yard, a sack, and an interception. Mahomes in the fourth quarter, and throughout last week, but mainly on a Friday show, I talked about, hey, listen, it's important for the Houston Texans to build a lead for themselves because Patrick Mahomes in the fourth quarter, this is where, if there's any of that Mahomes magic left in them, that's typically where we've seen it this year. But in the fourth quarter, 29 passing yards, 2 interceptions, 1 first down, and the Texans defense held him to 2 of 11. And you also look at the physicality of the game, right? Monday show, I highlighted the Texans defense, how they won. They were just extremely more physical than the Kansas City Chiefs offense. And it showed. You got to be a tough son of a gun to go across the middle of the field. This is something the Houston Texans offense has done well this year, but specifically the connection with Nico Collins and CJ Stroud. But for the Kansas City Chiefs, they got hit once, they got hit twice, and they weren't trying to see that third, fourth, fifth time. On the in-breaking routes for KC, the Chiefs and Mahomes were 2 of 10. 2 of 10 on in-breaking routes. In the middle of the field where things can get physical, they kind of shied away from that. And we also saw Kansas City, Travis Kelce, Tyquan Thornton, Rashee Rice on fourth down. We saw multiple drops. And I think those guys were just bracing themselves for the contact. Sometimes it came, sometimes it didn't, but it played in the favor for the Houston Texans. This is how dangerous this Houston Texan team defense is. Their defense is going to get into your mind. So whether they're coming down to smack you or not, you know it's eventually going to come. That changes how those playmakers can go about themselves in those drives, how they prepare for those drives. You get hit once or twice, you're trying to get hit a third time. But on rewatch, I absolutely thought, I come away with this thought. Kamari Lassiter, for me, was the player of the game for Houston. Battling a foot injury, and it didn't look like it bothered him too much. And I just thought coming into this game, he'd be viewed as the weaker link due to the opposite side having Derek Stingley Jr., who had a phenomenal day, 1 catch, 22 yards. That was it. And with the foot injury, Mahomes may have viewed him as the pick-on target. Let's go after the guy who may not be at 100%, right? And also going into the game on Friday show, I said, hey, listen, the Houston Texans may get him out there. It looked like he was going to play, but they may limit his snaps. He played 100% of the defensive snaps. And I swear, we can point to the interception. That was a great interception. I thought that he read that route to perfection. But my favorite play, and I think his best play, was the pass breakup on Tyquan Thornton in the end zone. It's a different game if Thornton comes down with that catch. And so the defense, backed by their head coach, backed by Matt Burke, backed by the guys on every level of the defense. That's what makes it so crazy and scary. Every level of that defense, there's a player up front. We know who the two players are on the outside, but it looks like Tommy T is going to be up for a nice extension with the Houston Texans next offseason. Aziz in the middle, in the backfield, everywhere. Petrie, Lassiter, Stingley, Bullock. Right now, the Houston Texans have 3 players with 3 or more interceptions, 4 players, with 3 or more interceptions on the year. They're taking the ball away, they're hitting, they're getting after the quarterback, they're stopping the run, and they're making it hard for offenses to get comfortable. That is all a formula for a Super Bowl. Should I say it? Should I say the Super Bowl run? They got the formula for it. In order for the Houston Texans to actually make that run, and I think this is a perfect, segue. When I say Stroud played like the game manager, some took it as a shot, some took it as disrespect to the franchise quarterback, but it's not. On several occasions, I've called CJ Stroud the franchise quarterback. On several occasions, I've backed CJ Stroud. If the ultimate goal is to win a Super Bowl, then this team has what it takes. However, Houston will need more from the run game and consistency from the offensive line. We got more Locked On Texas talk when we return. Before we get to that Super Bowl talk, and it could possibly happen, I wonder what the odds are on FanDuel right now for Houston to make a Super Bowl run. The Texans have a plus 1,500 odds to win the Super Bowl. That's right now. So if you're feeling like this team can do it, head on over to FanDuel. Plus, the NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team is making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA and the NFL. Getting back to a very important conversation for Houston and the offense. I do want to mention that the Texans were 8 of 18 on third down, 2 of 4 in the red zone. And honestly, it should have been 3 or 4. I hated just going back and looking at that illegal shift motion call, whatever it was. I hated that flag. I hated that penalty. 98.7% of the entire league does that, and we don't see that flag. And so I'm not going to get into a conspiracy. I'm not going to say that the Chiefs made the call. I'm not going to do that. But I will say that call was egregious and one of those moments where it could have come back to bite the Houston Texans in the butt, but it didn't. It did not. And for the Houston Texans, what really could have come back to bite them in the butt, just a really tough rushing night for the Texans. 2.6 yards per carry. Marks had 68 yards on 26 carries. I thought Marks was better on first downs. 37 of his 68 yards came on first downs. In a deeper look into this, Mark had 25 yards on 5 carries in the first half. A lot of the issue from Mark's performance, and I think it's been a thing for Houston all year, guys, their struggles against elite defensive tackles hurt them. You know, if we look at the year altogether in some of their matchups, elite defensive tackles that they've played against, when Houston took on Denver, 77 rushing yards, 2.8 yards per carry, Zach Allen, who lines up a lot in the B gap, was there. Tennessee, the second go around, 75 rushing yards, 3.3 yards per carry. Who was there? Who returned? Jeffrey Simmons, Seattle, 56 yards, 3.3 yards per carry. Murphy and Williams, the Chiefs, 82 rushing yards, 2.6 yards per carry. And Chris Jones. When they go up against those elite D tackles, we see Houston struggle a lot, and that allows for, especially going up against the Chiefs, they were doing everything that they could to send the blitz and get after the quarterback and disrupt the offense for Houston. But that allows for an element of the game to be taken away from the Houston Texans offense. They've made it clear they want to run the ball. And when they run the ball well, what happens? They're able to play action off of that. They're able to take some of those deeper shots downfield. And when they don't have that, what do we get? Well, we take a look at the struggles, the troubles in the second half. What happened? Chris Jones happened. That's what happened. Defensively, he completely, wrecked the game in the third quarter. This is where we see Mark's -2 rushing yards on 4 carries in the third quarter. His yards before contact in the third quarter, -1.75 in the third quarter. Marks was getting hit in the backfield a lot in that third quarter. And when that passing offense stalled, the run was nowhere to be found because of Chris Jones completely wrecking havoc. And so for Houston to go on this Super Bowl run, which I think nobody, especially here in the city of Houston, in the last 3 weeks, we've heard the national love get there, but it's hard to pick against that defense. It's hard to pick against that defense. However, this is where the term game manager, which may upset some of y'all, this is not a shot at CJ Stroud. And him being the game manager for 2025, that doesn't mean that's going to be his career. But this is where you either A, want to see your quarterback rise to the occasion, and I don't think we've seen it a lot this year, aside from the San Francisco game where I thought CJ Stroud was great, aside from the 2 drives against Denver where I thought he was great. It's hard to count Baltimore, but I'll count Baltimore. I thought CJ Stroud was pretty decent in Baltimore as well. But there hasn't been a full game from Stroud this year consistently rising to the occasion. This is where that attachment of being a game manager comes in. And when Houston does not have the run to help them out, to help that offense out, what happens? Well, you get 0 points in the third quarter. And that's not like it's an anomaly. It's not a one-off thing. This has been a consistent problem for Houston with or without CJ Stroud. Yes, you can point towards Nick Caley as an issue, his play calling and the lack thereof and the consistency in that department. I 100% get it. I 100% agree with you. There's been plenty of moments where it felt like, the Houston Texans looked to get up by 3, and then they allow their defense to win them the game. There hasn't been many moments where it feels like when Houston does get a lead, they're playing aggressive enough to extend that lead. That has been something that has frustrated me personally all year, especially when this offense has got it clicking. And what has that led to? The Chiefs game is the first game, the first win for Houston that didn't come down to a 1-score victory since the 49ers game. That was a 9-point win. The Chiefs, 10-point win. The first time that's happened in a very long time. So they got to be able to trust the quarterback a lot more here, guys, when that run is breaking down. Because when you get to the playoffs, it won't just be an elite D tackle. It'll be the best of the best, and it will be defensive coordinators who will have a year's worth of film on, okay, when they run the ball for 120, 130, 140, what's happening? Who's out there? What's going on in that B and A gap? Do we have the players to replicate that? If not, can we scheme up a way to replicate that, to disrupt it? Because if we can disrupt the run, then we can disrupt the offense, because this year has been proven. Not a lot of cases where the passing offense has risen to the occasion when the running offense is breaking down. And I also want to say this to you guys. Being a game manager at this stage in year 3 is not a bad thing for CJ Stroud. And it's honestly not a bad thing for the Houston Texans. I'll tell you why. We get caught up in this modern day football, and we get caught up in, got to score points. If you look around the league, yards are down. Passing yards are down. Rushing yards, I think, are up for the past 2 seasons, maybe dating back 3 seasons ago. Defense has caught up to offense. And more so, the defense has caught up to schemes and some of the issues that offensive schemes have been able to hide for these quarterbacks. Russell Wilson was a game manager when he first got in the NFL. He won a Super Bowl. Tom Brady, in Brady's first 4 years, 2001, that Patriot defense, 6th in the NFL. 2003, that Patriots defense, first in the NFL. 2004, that Patriots defense, 2nd in the NFL. What does all of those things have in common? Super Bowl, Super Bowl, Super Bowl. The ultimate goal here for Houston is to win a Super Bowl. The reality is the defense can legitimately get them to the Super Bowl. The rest of the guys got to come along. But if you can manage the game like Stroud has been able to manage the game for majority of the year, and if they can find a way to be successful consistently on the ground, then Houston has the formula to make it work. Now, with all of that being said, not a lot of coaches overcome 0-3. Not a lot of coaches overcome 0-3 and then create their way, make their way by doing it their way. So I think it's fair to talk about Demeco Ryans being in the Coach of the Year conversations. More Locked On Texans when we return. I think this is a fun conversation for you guys to stick around and listen to.
Today's show is brought to you by our friends over there at Peloton. Look, folks, it's time to break through the busiest time of the year with a brand new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus that's powered by Peloton IQ. It's Peloton's most elevated technology and equipment yet that gives you real-time guidance, and it gives you endless ways to move, whether you want to work out by yourself or if you want to work out with your favorite instructor, like my personal favorite, Alex Toussaint. He always gets me fired up to tackle the day. And the thing I like about Peloton, it helps me achieve more in less times. They have features that help you plan, stay motivated, track your progress, and Peloton IQ also provides personalized workout plans and recommendations. That's something that I use right now during the busiest time of the year covering the NFL. They plan my workouts for me based on my mood, my vibe, and also my favorite instructors. So make sure you check it out and use it because it also helps you correct your form in real time, and it maximizes your reps. It counts your reps so that you can do it smarter, safer, and more efficient. Let yourself run, lift, flex, push, and go. Explore the new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus at onepeloton.com.
Let's finish off this conversation the fun way. Before I do that, Mitchell Schwartz tweeted out, I thought this is just great to mention, especially considering the conversation. He tweeted out, "We played Philly my first career game in 2012. It felt like Demeco Ryans was everywhere on that field, flying around. One of our offensive linemen said it was like he was on bath salts." Now, we don't recommend any type of drugs here on the Locked On Texans show or the Locked On Podcast Network. But then he continued to say, every game after, we had a bath salts player of the game. Our O-line decided for their best defender because of Demeco. Guys, did we expect to witness history this year for the Houston Texans? A lot of us did. A lot of us, shout out to my boy DJ Bieniemy. I think he was the one that kicked it off in the offseason that said this could be the best secondary in the NFL. 4 guys with 3 interceptions or more. A lot of us looked at this defense, and I'm going to tell you guys, man, some of you may have been able to get out there for the fan training camps, and those are always fun. You guys get an opportunity to get a great view, and this is when C.J. Gardner-Johnson was out there, who, by the way, is balling over in Chicago right now. But it was clearly this defense was going to be one of them ones. Did we expect this defense would be historic? Maybe some people did. Maybe some people didn't. But the reality is this defense is dangerous. This defense is dangerous. So dangerous. Demeco Ryans, who, by the way, just needs to be a little bit better in late game, late half clock management, but so dangerous that Demeco Ryans, who spent the last 2 years building this defense, taking over everything that was done previously before him, slowly but surely reshaping it to look like what he wants to look like, doing so by trading up for Will Anderson. This defense was able to get passed on to Matt Burke. So, what am I getting at here? Well, guys, I wore this shirt, not to piss y'all off, but I wore this Patriot shirt for a reason. And the only Texan hat that I had was too small. But I see 2 teams in the NFL that their head coaches deserve it. One is Mike Vrabel. 8 wins in the last 2 years, 11 wins his first year. Has his quarterback, along with Josh McDaniels, looking like some version of the MVP. Him and Matthew Stafford right now, I think they're running neck and neck. But we also know that yearly awards can come down to who the media loves more. We also know that you don't get these yearly awards if you hadn't done something spectacular. Okay. We also know that these yearly awards, you also need a story behind it. 3 things that matter. Okay, national media love in the last 3 to 4 weeks, but when this winning streak became real and Houston making the playoffs became real, I hate to describe another grown man as a media darling, but the media has fallen in love with Demeco Ryans and his defense, and Matt Burke, by the way. You have to do something spectacular. That's number 2, right? They started the year 0-3. They started the year with an inexperienced offensive coordinator. They started the year with no Joe Mixon, an old and aged Nick Chubb, who has been well for Houston, played well for Houston in his role, and a rookie running back, and Dare and Damian Pierce. Before they can even get things going with Woody Marks, those 2 other players were the options. They started the year like that. But now they're the 7th seed. The story behind it. There you go. It's been spectacular. The defense has been spectacular. The defense has been. When was the last time we saw a defense so good that we just knew it didn't matter who was playing quarterback for that team, the defense will win the game? That Denver team that beat Cam in the Super Bowl, the Legion of Boom that had Russell Wilson, and a couple of teams in the 2000s. Another team just so happened to have Tom Brady in 2019 or whatever, but I mean, that's Tom Brady. Demeco he meets all 3 criterias, and they have 4 games left. Obviously, you don't want to see Houston slip to Arizona or the Raiders. But Demeco meets the requirements, in my opinion, for everything. So they finish out strong. And if it's a victory December, my honest to God truth here is it should be a Coach of the Year award. It's happened in the NFL before. 2012, Bill Belichick, John Harbaugh. It's happened before. In terms of coaching, in terms of trusting his guys, the Texans be beating up on people with 4 men rushing the quarterback. They ain't blitzing nobody for real. They don't need to. Trust is there for his guys up front to get home. They're doing it with non-household names in the middle of that defense. They're doing it with people may know Aziz, but Henry T. How many people know Henry T? They've been doing it with him. It could be the reality could be Houston and New England share co-coach of the year awards. And I'm gonna also throw another reality out there for you. If we're looking at assistant coach of the year award, the reality could be Houston and New England could share that. Josh McDaniels, Matt Burke. And the reality could be, for me at least, and I think this would just be beautiful for me and for you guys, a playoff matchup. I would love to see that. I know y'all would love to see that. I know y'all would probably find wherever I'm at. If the Texans wins, then let me have it. But honestly, the 2 teams, and I predicted this on ESPN Southwest Radio at the start of the season, the 2 teams that deserve Coach of the Year or Offensive Coach of the Year, AFC East, New England Patriots, AFC South, Houston Texans. You don't do what the Texans have done and just not feel like there's a reward for it. Can't cover the team in a lot like that. Thank you for watching the Locked On Texans podcast. Please be sure to subscribe, like, and comment on YouTube wherever you listen to your podcast, and follow me on Twitter at John_Hickman12. Until next time, ladies and gents, Texan fans across the nation, rep your team, rep your squad, rep your coach. Let's be real. The Houston Texans could finish December without an L on their record. How's that for a bleeping story? Peace.